have the. Well, then no.
Good evening, good people. Welcome to City Hall for this March 8th general session of the City Commission of the City of Muskegon. Before we proceed with our prayer and pledge of allegiance to start our meeting, I'd just like to make sure everyone's aware that if you'd like to address the City Commission during a public comment period, you may complete the comment form at the back of the room and submit it to our City Clerk. On the form, please provide your name, home address, and the topic on which you'll be speaking. When it's your time to speak, I'll acknowledge you and you'll come to the podium. Provide your name, and give your remarks. Note, I will not share your address publicly, nor will I ask you to announce your address before public comment. Throughout our commission meeting, let's maintain decorum and remain respectful of one another. Visitors to our meeting should refrain from making remarks from the audience and instead are welcome to sign up to give public comment at the podium when called upon. Thank you. And we have Pastor Tom Beetham from Lakeside Baptist Church to lead us in prayer tonight. Welcome to the podium, sir.
It's yours. Mine's hiding.
If you care to join us in prayer and the pledge, please stand and remove your caps.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Let's join together in prayer. Father, we thank you that you are great and that you are good. And we come to you together tonight seeking you, knowing that we can do nothing apart from you, certainly nothing good apart from you, and acknowledging that every good gift comes down from above, from your hand. We seek your wisdom tonight. We desire for this city to be full of your goodness, your love, and your wisdom. And so we ask for that to flood this meeting tonight. Lord, would you guide us? We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. All right, Madam Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Gorman?
Here.
Commissioner Emery?
Here.
Commissioner St. Clair?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Hood?
Here.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Here.
Vice Mayor German?
Here.
Thank you. All present and accounted for. All right, we're going to start tonight with a presentation from our good friends with the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition. I believe Mr. McLeod's going to be joining us.
Thank you very much. My name is Ray McLeod, the president of the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition, and I appreciate having my cycling friends here tonight. They're going to bust out of here as soon as they're tired of listening to me talk, because we do have a regular bike ride on Tuesday nights that they don't want to miss. I do appreciate you letting me back again in tonight. Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition has been working with Deputy,
Deputy City Manager.
Lord of the City, Leanne.
City Manager.
I was a little taken aback last night by the formality of all the titles, but I do appreciate all of that, and not that I'm going to be a little bit more informal than that. But I do appreciate the formality of how you run your. The coalition, we started. Well, let me back up. I've been in the county. I've lived in the county for 35 years. I've been an avid cyclist for all of that time. And during that time, I have seen a lot of cycling groups come and go. They come on with a flourish, they get real popular, and then they drift away for a number of reasons. And I've also seen and read in the newspaper and the Chronicle a lot of advocacy groups come out with plans, big plans, get good headlines, and then for whatever reason they disappear and they end up getting shot. It always struck me as kind of disappointing for our county, for our city, for our cities, our metro area. And I was always I was raised in a family and had my own profession and whatnot. So I was slow to join any of those groups, partly because they didn't seem to have the staying power. As I neared the end of my own career, I started thinking about all of that and saying, okay, I've got the time, I've got the energy, I love this sport, I love this activity, and I want to see how we can make this more interesting, more accessible to more and more people, not just the people who are bent over on their bikes in the Lycra, going fast without looking around. Those people, you know what? We've seen them. They're going to take care of themselves. We need to be looking out for other people. So with the help of my wife, Melanie, we started some bicycling groups, one up in Whitehall, one here in town, that was very open, very welcoming to every single kind of bicyclist in the area. And as we got both of those groups going 7 years ago, Tom Lindrup, our good friend Tom Lindrup here, who's president of the Berry Junction Trail Group, he kept pushing for advocacy. He said, Ray, you got to start going. You got to start working on advocacy in the area. I said, I felt like I wasn't ready yet, like I needed to build my resume, my some credence of my own. And finally, about 5 years ago, Tom kept pushing and pushing, and finally felt like it was time to do that. And with Tom and Julia Miller and Melanie, we finally got started with the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition. And over the years, we've simply gotten stronger. During the COVID years, many organizations, especially volunteer organizations, may have sort of disappeared. But our group, our Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition, simply has gotten stronger. We started off with just a small board of directors that was predominantly doing rides, and those rides have gotten stronger and more robust as time's gone by. Our advocacy has gone from doing things like helping people, cities, Norton Shores, Roosevelt Park with their 5-year plans, helping them with and Muskegon Heights with their 5-year plan, helping Roosevelt Park and Muskegon Heights join Norton Shores and the city of Muskegon pass the 5-foot safe passing ordinances. They had the 3-foot safe passing ordinance. We went to them, spoke with them, and they got on board and joined you. So we're real close in our county, is having all of the cities in the county having the 5-foot safe passing ordinance, and we get Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition. It's the partnership with our cities for that. So we're really happy about the work that we've done, but we have more work to do, and we definitely are going to be doing that. But where does that take us in the future? We definitely appreciate the Lakeshore Trail. We definitely appreciate the Laketon Trail, and this the new trail that's coming up for a vote tonight. I sure hope that gets I hope that gets a unanimous vote from the commissioners. We strongly support that the Laketon Lakeshore Connector Trail. I think that's going to just be a powerful connector that's going to come through town, connect city center to city center, the county building, to not just, and the reason that's so powerful is for all of the people who ride their bikes that don't consider themselves cyclists. They use their bikes to run errands, to get to work, to get to appointments, to get a loaf of bread, maybe to just go see their friends, to get together with their friends for a bike ride. The people who don't see themselves as cyclists, they will never give a hoot about the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition. They will never show up on any of our Tuesday night rides or Monday night rides. They use their bicycle for transportation. They need that kind of infrastructure. They will benefit from that kind of infrastructure. So the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition is advocating for those types of bicyclists that don't advocate for themselves, won't ever come to a meeting like this, and they don't know that we're advocating for them. So what we really want to do is, since we've been working with Leanne and Leo for 5 years now, and they've been great. If you can flip over to the little card that shows the Sharos. Yep. Oh, back to the Sharos, please. I'm sorry. We've been working with Leo and Leanne for 5 years on a lot of their street plans. We've been trying to shoulder our way in. Whenever a new road project comes up, we try to get in there and try to talk with them, and they're welcoming to us. We come in and they tell us what they're planning, and we go out. We send lots of people, the people that are out here in the audience, they go out with tape measures on the streets, and they say, well, it looks like if you make this lane narrower, it's still wide enough for cars, but you can get a bike lane over here. You can do, when we come back and we meet with Leanne and Leo and we give our feedback, and they do what they can do. And many times it results in just the Sharos that you see up here on your screens now. The Sharos are For bicyclists, they're not very helpful because any bicyclist and most motorists know that bicycles are allowed. A bike is traffic on the roads. They are traffic, so they're allowed by law to ride any place that a car or a truck is allowed to ride, unless there's a minimum speed posted. So bikes don't need those. But what those are good for is they tell the motorists out there to put your head on a swivel for a change, and you're not the only person that can be on this road. Start pay attention. And these are also really good tools to help motorists realize that maybe slowing down a little bit is good, and maybe just driving a little bit closer to the speed limit would be good too. So these are good for traffic calming also. So these are, again, while we're seeing these pop up more and more around the city and around Muskegon Heights and around Roosevelt Park, while they're really, really helpful, they're not helpful to cyclists. They're a message to motorists, not to cyclists. So we appreciate those going up wherever they can. And now if you can go to the next little card that we have there. The next little card is just about crosswalks. The city of Muskegon has done a bit of a job of trying to put in more crosswalks. But again, crosswalks are not for the pedestrians. They're not for the kids walking across the street. That's why crosswalks should look like that. They should look like piano keys. Crosswalks are messages to the motorists. They've got to be seen by the motorists. The walkers, the people, mom and dad, grandma, grandpa out shopping, the kids going home from school, they know where the corners are. They know where they're going to walk. It's the people coming on their cars up to that corner that need to see the crosswalk ahead of time. So again, the paintings on the pavement are for the motorists' information, not the pedestrians, and not for the cyclists. You can go ahead to that next. That one was. Okay, so this gets us back to the LLTC, or Trail Connector. That takes planning. That takes a lot of planning, and that's where we really, really want to help. The two things prior to that, the Sharrows and the crosswalks, that doesn't take planning. In fact, that's what you have to do when you do lack of planning. That's the minimum you can do is for lack of planning. Put Sharrows down, put a lot of crosswalks down, paint, inform the motorists. But when you do planning, then you end up with the LLTC on the top little picture. Then you can't even see it in the bottom picture, but you end up with bike lanes. Bike lanes are minimally 4 feet wide. Okay, think about that, 4 feet wide. We don't have any of those on the street in Muskegon City. We don't have any bike lanes like that. We have 3-foot shoulders here and there, but we don't have any true bike lanes because we haven't done that planning together. I'm no professional. I'm no professional road designer. I'm an advocate, and I know some stuff. I've gone to some classes on my own dime and on my own time, and I'm happy to do that. And I know some stuff, and I'm happy to share some of that knowledge that I have and try to advocate for some of that work to be done. But I can't do that unless, and the MCBC can't do that unless we're brought in on the front end of that. Unfortunately, many times we don't know what's going on until the money's already spent on the cement and the scope of it's already done, and all we can do is help with the paint to get hopefully Sharrows and crosswalks in. Okay, go to the next page. That's the complete streets page. This is your resolution from 2013. You're all familiar with this. You're all very familiar with this. You're not. I'm not showing you anything you don't know, but this is the planning part of it. The design framework that enables safe and convenient access for all users, including pedestrians, bicycles, transit riders, and drivers of all ages, all abilities. That's the design. That goes from the design. As soon as you start thinking about, my friends, commissioners, as soon as you start thinking about you're going to do a road project, from design step forward, you need to be thinking in terms of pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists. We can't just say, oh, we're going to do a new street. How can we get the cars and trucks to drive through there faster? And is it possible, should we be raising the speed limit in this area? What we should be thinking is, how can we make it safer for the most vulnerable? How can we make it safer for the most vulnerable and get those darn cars and trucks to travel closer to the posted speed limit? Not trying, the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition, we're not trying to get you to lower speed limits. Nowhere are we trying to get you to lower speed limits. We're trying to help you get cars and traffic to drive closer to the posted speed limit. We know it's not all about us, but we know that if a motorist drives closer to the posted speed limit, it's safer for them. It's safer for us too, but we know it's safer for them too. And in this day and age, when the way the car manufacturers are designing trucks and cars with those flat grills, those are people killers. Those big front grills, those are pulling people underneath them. That's why you see in the last 8 years, the deaths of pedestrians and bicyclists are skyrocketing. You would think things would be going the other way for us. Is all the safety things that we know, but in the last 7 to 8 years, pedestrian deaths are all-time highs. And here in Muskegon County, we can fix that if we can work on plans to work together on that stuff. So what we want to do, what Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition wants to do, is throughout the county, we want to work with all the municipalities, especially the metro area, because this is going to wag the dog. The city of Muskegon is going to wag the dog. You know, sure as heck, Norton Shores wants to keep up with whatever you're doing. Roosevelt Park and Muskegon Heights wants to keep up with you guys. You're going to wag the whole county to do well with this. So I think maybe I better wrap it up because I'll get over my 10 minutes probably already. So there's one more card, isn't there?
There is.
Clerk? So I want to take just a quick moment. You can flip it over real quick. This is on the other side of that card.
Oh.
On Monday nights, we do a ride throughout the city. It starts on March 21st this year, and then it will go all the way to the time change. Called Roll On Muskegon. We meet at the farmers market. I know some of you have been on that ride, and probably, I hope, have had a good time. But we do an hour ride where we pick a different neighborhood each week, and we do a slow roll through that neighborhood. And I'm telling you, if you're wondering, is Muskegon, the city of Muskegon, ready for bikes on their roads and not just on separated lanes like the LLTC? Is the city of Muskegon ready to share the road with bikes? The answer is yes. You come on those rides and you will see cars pulling over, rolling down their windows, honking their horn, not mad. They're honking their horn, yelling out the windows, waving, people on their front porches, welcome to my neighborhood, welcome to my, I mean, we are welcomed like we're a bunch of celebrities, and all we are is a bunch of yahoos on bikes. And it just feels like such a party. Every single Monday, we leave the farmers market at 6:30. We ride real slow. If you get out of breath on that ride, it's because you're talking too much. We have cards about those rides and back if you'd like to pick one up. But do you have any questions or comments, or would you like me to just get out of the way and let you get on?
Thank you so much, Ray. I appreciate you and all our good friends at the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition for those community rides, bringing people into our wonderful neighborhoods that they may have not visited or experienced before, and introducing it to our neighbors as well. And look forward to ongoing partnership in planning. That resolution that you posted, the Complete Street ones, that happened to predate pretty much everybody up here except for 2 commissioners, but it has been discussed throughout our tenure since 2013.
Yep.
And
no doubt. I don't doubt that.
Very much embraced by staff
very
and this
familiar with it.
commission. And so I'm excited to work with you, but commissioners might have some questions or some follow-up input for you, though. Commissioners, do you have any questions for? No? No? All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to continuing working together. All right, so before we get into the consent agenda, I just want to remind, if anyone wants to speak on an item on the consent agenda, please submit that form to the clerk right now to speak on an agenda item before we vote on any of the agenda items. Not just the consent, any agenda items.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go. Get just step it.
Contacts on that. I got to go.
Yeah, yeah. We both have to go. Pass that back. It's for sure.
We all got
Tag
it.
on
We gotta
that.
go.
Yeah. I feel like the ladies in green are representing something.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I know you're busy, but would you like to share with the people standing in the back that some seats in the front have opened up if they'd like to sit?
Oh, staff. Staff, would you like to sit up front?
There's more.
We have
Seats open up front. I guess I could have hollered out myself. Don't be shy, Pete. Okay.
All right. So we have a few different people who'd like to speak on consent or want to speak on various different agenda items. A couple that are going to be speaking at the end of our meeting under any other topics. For agenda items, first up, we have Mr. Jack Page, neighbor from Bluffton, joining us tonight, wishing to speak on the temporary marijuana events. Give your name, sir, and you have up to 3 minutes for remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all the commissioners. My name is Jack Page, and my address is 1853 Cherry Street. I'm here to support the agenda item of temporary marijuana events. Muskegon, for a long time, had the unofficial moniker of the beer tent capital of the world. And event after event was approved and supported by the city of Muskegon. Now that marijuana is fully legal, I support in allowing events at Marshfield and at the and at Mercy Health Arena. I would also support the city in waiving or reducing festival fees to cover public safety and sanitation to help fledgling festivals beginning, just like the city has in the past with festivals that contain an alcohol component. Almost every festival in this city still has an alcohol component. I think it's time for cannabis to have its rightful and equal share. And fair and equal is exactly the language that the citizen-held referendum spoke on that led to legalization. So that's all I'm asking for, is a fairly equal representation. Thank you.
Thank you much, Mr. Page. All right. We also have on the same topic, Mr. Cummings. Is a business located in the city of Muskegon?
Yes, it is.
And a neighbor from,
Our business is located on Laketon Avenue, across the street from Marshfield. And I am a partner and partial owner of Shoreline Memorial Services Funeral Home. And let me first say that I am not opposed to the law for allowing marijuana consumption in the state of Michigan. What we, my business partner and myself, are opposed to is having the event at Marshfield. I don't want to give a history lesson to the city commission, but back in 1904, Charles Hackley donated land to have the hospital directly across the street from where Marshfield is. About 12 years later, Charlie Marsh and some business people in Muskegon purchased that property, about a city block worth, and donated it ultimately to the city of Muskegon. And both of those people, the people of Muskegon, hoped that the city would treat it and be good stewards of the property. And I truly believe that the hospital was for many, many years and will be as our new middle school for the city of Muskegon. And I would like to think that Mr. Marsh has been very proud of all of the events, baseball included, that have happened at Marshfield. I would be interested to find out what his thoughts would be with the marijuana consumption happening at the ballpark. Don't necessarily believe it, but again, I can't speak for Mr. Marsh. Again, I'm okay with having events like this inside the city of Muskegon. We just don't think that Marshfield is an appropriate place. We know that the Burning Foot has alcohol consumption parties down at the beach, and there are places throughout the city that have these events also. The city of Grand Rapids recently had one at Fifth Third Ballpark, and at the end of the event, they had a breathalyzer to test certain individuals to might find out if they were still able to either drive or be out in the public after consuming that much beer. I'm wondering if the marijuana events have that same type of apparatus. As far as I know, they do not. So that would be a concern. Lastly, again, I understand the state of Michigan has approved marijuana use throughout the state, but we also have to understand that the federal government still considers it a narcotic, and I think that that is something that we do need to take into consideration. With our middle school being across the street from where this marijuana consumption event is being held, I just think that the city should be able to find a better place to hold this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cummins. And on another topic, we have Miss Billy Joy Thomas speaking with regard to rezoning of 653 Yuba. Joining us from the wonderful Jackson Hill neighborhood. Good evening.
I'm Billy Joy Thomas, and I'm the president. No, I live at 490 Jackson. Here on the behalf of Jackson Hill with the rezoning of 653 Yuba Street. When I talked to planning, they told me this property was going to be used for storage for the city of downtown condos and apartments. And to rezone this for that space, low density, and you'd have to pull it up. So houses could be put on that property. Why should we have storage units and there's more city apartments and condos being built? Our concern is for the neighborhood with the crime rate. We already had crime in new condos that are being built on Clay. So we want this not rezoned to the B4.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Always great to see you. All right, we have a John Bradfield, resident, or from a neighbor from the east, Muskegon Township, but a business owner on Lakeshore Drive. Welcome. You have 3 minutes for your remarks.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm here to talk today about the Ride Muskegon and the electric scooters being brought to our city. I appreciate Terry Puffer and what he's done in downtown. The Glow event was incredible, and I, thoroughly enjoyed that with the family. And I think the social sandbox is something that is going to continue to go forward with the legacy project. I do have some concerns with the e-scooters. As traveling with sales and marketing through other cities, I've noticed in these cities where scooters are all over the place. They are littered on sidewalks. They are tilted in their stands. They're not properly charged. They're not properly taken care of. I just think that it will continue to create some issues with just the overall appearance and the trajectory that Muskegon is currently on. Not only that, I believe that the number is too high. I think the attorney had mentioned 650 for Grand Rapids and 100 for Muskegon. I dare say that that capacity is very similar in square footage. I haven't done the math, but 100 seems like a very heavy amount for our town. I'm also concerned about control with minors being have access to the scooters. In my travels, I've seen them in streets with kids as young as 12 going the opposite direction, in and out of traffic. It's a safety concern.
And then the other concern I have with the agreement is the overnight practice. I don't understand why it would be a 24-hour operation. I can see, especially in our downtown area with the breweries there, that we could have some intoxicated people operating, and I just dare say that we need to look at reducing that time frame that's in the agreement. But I appreciate the time and thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you for your input, Mr. Bradfield. We do have a couple of people who have signed up to speak, one of which will be reserved for the end of the meeting under general public comment, and the other one will be speaking during our public hearing on the commercial rehabilitation district. So we're going to proceed with our consent agenda. Commissioners, you've had time to review the consent agenda. Are there any items that you wish to remove from the consent for separate consideration? And note that item H, Summer Concert Series Social Sandbox, has been removed, and that will be considered at a later meeting. Vice Mayor German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Item E and F.
Any other items, Commissioners? All right, entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, minus items E and F. Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Commissioner Emery, to accept the consent agenda as presented, minus items E and F. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor German, item E, please.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. I move to approve the renovation budget for 435 Isabella at $220,000 and amend the fiscal 2021-22 Public Improvement Fund budget to include the project during the fiscal year.
Support.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor German, supported by Commissioner St. Clair, to approve the renovation budget for 435 Isabella at $220,000 and amend the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 Public Improvement Fund budget to include the project during the fiscal year. Discussion. Vice Mayor German.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Do we have staff that could speak on this project here? And I got a chance to look at the property there. And my question is, why are we looking to invest $220,000 in that property?
I know some about the property. I have actually been in it with some developers that were interested in it for a while. I would imagine that the 220,000 is an estimate that our city staff has put together for work on the house.
Okay, and another concern, because we look around our city, and at that price, you can literally almost build a house. I think we're doing it in the other infield projects there, and I just find it not, in my point of view, and a really smart investment. Not saying that it would make the neighborhood look nice and on that block with that property, but investing $220,000 in this property, I just don't see it being beneficial. So that's my concern. And if someone was here to speak on it, or what their intent is, who is the developer?
It's not a developer, it's a city project.
Oh, it is the city.
It's
Okay.
it's the city doing our general contractor for the city, Tim Harvey is handling that project. But originally it was going to be a home project through Community Neighborhood Services. I don't know is Director Bailey here by chance? CNS? Oh, she's off this week, because I was going to say she might be able to speak as to why it didn't work out for the home as one of the city's rehabs that we do for low and modest income.
Right.
It appears in the detailed summary that it exceeded the budgetary constraints that we had, the funds available we had within the home budget for it to serve that purpose, but we're being asked to step in and renovate it as just one of our general rehab and renovations that would then be made available, presumably market rate, but that's not spelled out here. It is going to be a 2-unit. Had been a 3-unit, but will be a 2-unit once it's renovated.
And just one other thing, Mayor, and I'm glad you brought that up about the 2-unit, and but they did say, if I read correctly, that they're looking to actually make it a 3-unit if that area was form-based code.
That's a possibility that if that area were to be rezoned at some point in the future to what they had contemplated, or the city had contemplated previously, urban residential context area, that would have allowed a carriage house in the garage. So above the garage, you would have allowed like a studio apartment or living quarters. And so that could have been a possibility had that been rezoned. But presently, that is not permitted for that property.
At this point in time. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Ramsey, did you have something?
Yeah, no, I was just going to comment that about it being a 2-unit facility. So if we're looking at it at 2 units, then we're only talking about 110 per unit, which if you think about it separately, doesn't sound like such of a big pill to swallow without the third unit available, because I'm not suggesting that we do any sort of zoning change. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. And to be clear, there's no rezoning on the table right now or afoot for this property or the surrounding area. Any other questions or input on this item, Commissioners? Vice Mayor German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would actually feel more comfortable knowing the logistics of this project if our Director Bailey was here to answer some questions and give some insight.
It's not a project that Director Bailey is undertaking, though. I don't think she would have those details.
Okay.
She's handed it off.
She
was gonna. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
She was gonna handle this project, but it exceeded her budgetary constraints, and so she's handed it off. So we had acquired the property under tax foreclosure for the purpose of building within the Community Neighborhood Services home program, but it exceeded its budgetary constraints given the extent of repairs that's needed, and so that's why Director Bailey has. She probably regrettably handed off. She likes to do these projects.
Right, exactly.
So she probably was not eager.
Okay.
Looks like our Development Services Director, Ekholm, might be able to speak on this.
Sure, really quickly. So I just wanted to give some clarity to that. I did speak with Director Bailey about this property after we walked through it, as was referenced by the Deputy City Manager. So the challenge with home build projects or home renovation projects, if you go over $200,000, then there's significant additional assessments and reporting required to HUD, to the federal government, and that can add additional costs, additional staff time, and that, because the bids came in considerably over $200,000, that pushed it not only over the budgetary constraints, but would also make it difficult to achieve from a workflow standpoint. That was the reasoning at the time, is the meeting that I was in when it was discussed. So I don't know if that answers the question you were looking
It
at.
answers the question, but what about affordability, though, when we talk about?
So I have not been directly involved in the renovation bidding process for this project. I believe that it is to be similar to the Pine Street redevelopment that was undertaken, where there's some folks from Muskegon Public Schools Spanish language immersion program that are renting it out. I believe those are market rate rents. I don't know what that figure is.
Did you say market rate?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Now
Pine
that
Street
being
is market
said,
rate.
if the commission so chose to implement some sort of rent cap, I think it's to your discretion.
Yeah, I'd be favorable to reserving one of those units, and given that that was the intent for that property to be reserved or rehabbed for low to modest income, I would be amenable to having one of those 2 units be reserved for that. If the city's going to remain in ownership of it, if we're going to sell it, then we can talk to the buyer eventually about it and trying to work out details of preserving that for low to modest income so that we do have the housing at every price point, trying to continue to build out housing at every price point. But that's up to the commission to decide.
Yeah, and I, again, want to say I haven't been directly involved with those conversations. I just did know the question about the home, so I don't know if the intention is for this to be a reno and sale or to be a hold, and the manager may know more than I, so.
And that's also something that we don't necessarily have to decide right this moment. We can ask staff to explore that and report back to us on our options for reserving 1 or 2 of those units. The question right now for us is, do we want to rehab this home? And if we're not going to rehab this home and put it back into productive use, the alternative is we're going to have to pay to demolish it. And so that's what the commission is here to decide tonight. Commissioner Emery.
I agree with Vice Mayor German. That's a lot. A lot. And to put into this house, and it's going to be even more, I guarantee you. Someone that has flipped 4 houses. Is it possible for us to table this until we get more detail from whoever is now in charge of this?
What's the more detail that you're looking for?
Maybe a more concrete amount of what it's going to cost us and what the rents possibly from it is going to be. Are we going to rehab it and then sell it?
I don't know that that's been determined. As the mayor said, right now we're just looking to rehab it. I can tell you that this house is part of our scattered site brownfield, and so the investment will be recouped through tax capture.
Oh, okay. Okay, Commissioner Ramsey did make it sound a little better. We're saying it's 110,000,
Yeah, per
but
unit,
I know
eh?
it's going to be more like 160 each
Valid with the
by the
increase
time
in-
everything is said and done. So, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioner Emery. Any other questions or comments, commissioners? Yes. Vice Mayor German.
Yeah, just comment to Deputy Manager Mike Sales' comment where she stated she's not sure if the city's going to, well, you didn't say that, but if they were going to flip that or sell that or not. And, you know, I don't like making decisions when we don't have all of the facts. And, you know, we talked about, you know, affordable. And that's something that could be worked out, and capturing those taxes through the brownfield. You know, that's a lot of money, and due to materials and labor now, due to the pandemic, we know prices of material has gone up. So I just really don't see $220,000 being enough money to complete this project. I just think, you know, we're
Can I
falling
speak?
short.
Normally, what we do with these public improvement for 404 fund, we invest into these houses and we kind of flip them and try to make money for it to bring back money to our public improvement fund. So, and then it gets it back on a tax roll. Then we're collecting property taxes, and hopefully they have decent jobs. We get income tax for them. So it's a lot of things that goes into this. So normally we invest into the property and we make a little bit of money, and that money goes back into our public improvement fund. So it's a threefold thing. We're going to get it back on a tax roll. We're going to have some residents that possibly make decent wages. They're going to pay income tax, and we're going to replenish our public improvement fund. So normally we put money in there. We don't always make money back, but we want to break even as close as possible with the public improvement fund. Or hopefully make money with the houses. And we did a couple of those, was it Pine Street? That we're renting to those, and I think Frank is trying to sell that. I think we spent $250,000 and possibly we're going to sell it for $300,000. So we make a little bit of money, and right now we're renting those out until we are going to sell that, possibly. One guy, I think it was 3 units on the Pine Street. I think we put $250,000 in there, and we're going to possibly sell it for $300,000 and get that back on the tax roll. So it's a threefold thing. We're getting people in there that have income taxes. We're getting it back on the property roll, and then we're actually increasing money and revenue back into our public improvement fund. So it looks like a lot, but it's a multi-unit. We possibly could sell each unit for $150,000 or $200,000. We will get some of our money back. There's no guarantee what construction costs.
Right.
So I just wanted to put some clarification.
All right, thank you. I
Director
appreciate that.
Grant.
Yeah.
And you always, as our finance director, you always have a keen eye on our public improvement fund and the status of that. You are comfortable with this expenditure from our public improvement fund for this
Yes,
project?
I mean, if it's going to go into next fiscal year, right now the public improvement fund is in a little deficit, and
This is amending our current fiscal year.
yeah, but so anything we could get more money back into our public improvement fund, it will help us. So if we have to spend a little bit of money to get money back, that's the case.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Director Grant. Commissioner St. Clair, did you have something?
I did, but I think it's answered for me. Yeah, I think I'm good.
Yeah, and as part of our scattered site brownfield home infill project, it'd be ideal if we were making a profit on everyone, but that's not our intent as a city. We are trying to either build houses where there's empty lots or rehab houses that have languished, and not only is that removing blight from our community, but that's creating housing stock, and we are in a housing crisis.
Yes.
And so creating housing stock, and even if we're not turning a profit, we're not trying to lose our shirt, but we are able to withstand reasonable losses on these homes because of that brownfield tax capture that we can recoup over time to fill that loss, while then creating, as Director Grant said, that income tax stream, and then adding more vibrancy and vitality to our neighborhoods, as well as people spending money at our local businesses and supporting the local economy. So there's a lot of ripple effects and multiplier benefits from this kind of housing development. But are there any other questions? Yes,
It came back.
Commissioner St. Clair.
So we can decide today if we are going to approve this renovation, and then in the future, it is up to us to decide how we proceed with if this is a rental or if this is a sale. And if it is a rental, we would set if one of those is market rate and one of those is low income. Okay, thank you.
That's a correct. We were
Yes,
nodding our
sorry,
heads.
that's
So anyone
correct.
that's
Yes, okay, thank you.
listening at
Yeah.
our home,
My assessment
could
is
hear,
correct.
it's a yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay.
All right. Before we go to vote, final chance for any commissioners, questions or input? No? Vice Mayor German,
Just
final
last
comment?
thing, yeah, I thank Director Grant for shedding light and insight on that, and I totally get it, and I understand, creating the tax base place for someone to stay. I like the fact that it could be affordable, and also prefer both properties to be affordable, not market rate due to the housing crisis and the need for housing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor German. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And item F, Vice Mayor German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the request to rezone a portion of the property at 653 Yuba Street from R1 Low Density Single Family Residential to B4 General Business.
Support.
All right. We have a motion by Vice Mayor German, supported by Commissioner St. Clair, to approve the request to rezone a portion of the property at 653 Yuba Street from R1 Low Density Single Family Residential to B4 General Business. Vice Mayor German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Johnson. Mr. Franzik, thank you for being here. The question is, and the concern of the Jackson Hill neighborhood and the Angel, is this project, this property being rezoned down there and to a form-based code, and the concerns of the possibility of it expanding. Then I found out from the comment from President of Jackson Hill, she just stated that there's some possibility that that storage unit would be, I guess, used from residents in the downtown area. Can you give me a clear understanding of that, or do you know anything about that?
So the property is not being proposed for form-based code. It's for our general business district, which is already zoned. Half of it is zoned for that. We've owned the property for a couple decades now. We haven't had any interest on it. The side that's zoned for residential is on a steep slope, which makes it pretty much undevelopable. Matter of fact, Mr. Ramos's SketchUp of the plans he wants to do shows most of that property not even utilized. He only needs to utilize a portion of it. And his idea was that there's a lot of homes and condo units going up around the city, and it's probably going to be frequently used by people that's short on storage.
Okay, and exactly where we're looking at storage, are we looking at next to his property or?
So yeah, he owns the Kwanzaa Hut building.
Yep.
And to the east of that is the property in question. So on the east side of his Kwanzaa Hut, he'd like to purchase that property to construct mini storage units.
So I guess why are we looking to expand it as far as we're looking to expand that? Why just not that central location where his property is at?
Well, his property is zoned B4, which is the correct zoning for what he uses it for, and half the property next door is zoned B4, but he would have to rezone the remaining portion to be able to utilize that because he needs some of that property to fit the storage units on. I mean, we could have probably requested to zone 2/3 of it, 3/4 of it, but that portion's really undevelopable anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And the concern that I have, and also with the community in that neighborhood area, is the possibility of this being expanded even further. And the neighbors and the residents in Jackson Hill and Angel, they really take pride in their neighborhood, and they are actually in the process of doing a study, and I'm quite sure everyone's aware of that on this commission, to have public input and community input on what they want to see go in their communities. And I support that, as well as, any type of attempt to rezone in that area. I just feel right now that if we move forward with this, it just opens the door to continually expand throughout that community. And I'd rather just have a halt on any type of rezoning, especially form-based right now, before you get the full study and input of that community. So, and that's my take of it. But the community is the one that really has the input, and their voices should be heard. And I'm quite sure the city has.
Yeah, the group, we read the group's petition. It
Yeah.
asked to not rezone any properties to form-based code, which
Yeah.
we're not doing.
Right.
Requesting to rezone half of one parcel to B4. I think there was a little bit of confusion at the planning commission too. You may have noted about this expanding. Mr. Ramos made a comment at the planning commission meeting that he would like to start developing homes farther down Yuba. I think there was some confusion, people thinking he wanted to expand storage farther down Yuba. That's not the case. He's actually interested in the vacant lots to develop homes on.
Okay. Is Mr. Ramos available?
Mr. Ramos is here.
I'd like for him to come up to the stand if you don't mind.
Just one moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Chairman. Commissioner Ramsey had wanted to add a question or remark.
I have a couple of questions and a remark. Madam Clerk, can you do me a favor and pull up the zoning map that was submitted with our packet? It is the one that is primary colors. And I want to reiterate that, yep, keep on going. One more, top of the next page. Yep, that zoning map right there. I want to reiterate that this is not form-based code. So, Mr. Franzi, could you walk us through this map? And you'll see that B4 is what everything is already zoned, and Mr. Ramos's property is already on B4, and you'll see that half of the property that he's looking to purchase is already zoned as B4. So we're literally talking about the one yellow square with the blue line around it. Correct, Mike?
Yes, and
Okay.
I would like to add that it is separated by Hall Avenue. So
Okay, so Hall Avenue goes all the way to Seaway Drive. Now, Seaway Drive is blue. What does blue mean?
open space conservation, I'm not exactly sure how the highway got. I think that's just.
Okay, so by Hall, where Hall Avenue and Erickson Street intersect, that is also open space conservation. Can you give us a brief description of what that means?
Pretty much can't do anything on it. It's just there to be nature.
So and we don't control that. We're not going to change that and turn it into housing?
No, those are wetlands back there. That's what's known as the Green Acres Park.
Okay, and then the yellow, I assume, is R1 residential. Yes. But I could be incorrect. Turns out when I assume, I typically am incorrect.
You're correct. So.
So we're really just talking about this one little square that's actually separated from the residential area of this strip of land by a road, and it literally is that even half an acre? Like, if you were going to put an estimate on how much that is, because it is all literally uphill. So I have the privilege of going there every spring. Mr. Ramos works with the city to provide a community bike ride, and he lets us borrow the trams for those individuals who cannot ride bikes or do not own bikes. So I get to go there and pick them up. So I'm very familiar with this property and the slope that we're speaking of, but I want to know how much of that yellow is that slope, or how, give me an acre size.
The entire parcel is just over a half an acre.
So the yellow is probably, well, it looks like it could be a little bit more than half an acre. Or no, a little bit more than half of that, right?
Yeah, it's probably a little over a quarter acre.
Okay.
But half of that.
Yeah, and it would take some pretty fancy footwork. Okay, I just wanted us to be super aware of what was already happening in this area and how it really is a very tiny piece of property that we're speaking about in an area that is already predominantly that, and that is probably not going to be used less than a quarter of an acre to build a house on.
I would also like to mention that any storage requires a special use permit. So, because this is rezoned, doesn't even mean you're going to get the special use permit.
Yeah.
Commissioner Anthony.
No. If there's any questions about the zoning map, I would invite my colleagues to ask Mike or Mr. Franzek while he's standing up here about it, because I think that it really puts things into perspective as to the amount of land that we're talking about.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey. Yes, Mr. Franzek. The activity that the would-be purchaser wants to do there would have to come back to the planning commission for a special use permit to do that storage. That's one of the concerns. So I was remiss to not share this during public comment, but we received an email from Maria McIntosh and 3-in-1C, and late this morning. So you all should have received it, but she wanted it shared and included in the public record. And so I just want to acknowledge her email, and that her email, residents are in opposition are asking us, to vote no to proposal to rezone 653 Yuba Street. And one of her concerns is the underlying B4, that he wants to do storage there under a special land use permit, but if we rezone it B4, it opens it up to, as she lists, car lots, major auto repair with storage for wrecked vehicles, sales space for new and used vehicles, marijuana micro businesses, and storage facilities under special use. So just wanted to share her email and her remarks on that. So, Commissioner Hood.
Yeah, I'd just like to hear from Mr. Ramos.
Oh, yes. Going back to the request for Mr. Ramos to come up and speak. We have two commissioners wanting to hear from you. And the rest of us would welcome it as well.
Right, well, no, I purchased that building only because I love Muskegon, and that's the honest to God truth. I have plenty of buildings and plenty of property. It was a horrific looking, rusted out building that was there, and the lawn was hardly ever mowed. In fact, I had seen some of the previous owner's letters that he received from the city to mow his lawn. Since the purchase of that, we've done quite a bit of cleanup with trash, and it continues to happen in that neighborhood. If you live there, you know. Going down the hill, not on top. On top where the hill, where the houses are, it's absolutely marvelous. It's a beautiful location. The houses are well kept up. It's just a nice neighborhood. That's what the God's truth is. It's just a nice neighborhood. And my intent was only to make the improvements. With the type of storage that I intend to do is strictly mini storage. But again, that's it. That was my intention. If the board votes no on it, that's okay. You know, I'm good with that. I have plenty of other things to do. But I like the neighborhood. I like that building. It's one of my favorite buildings. I've been offered quite a bit on it, and I've refused to sell it. Because I do enjoy that location. It's peaceful, it's quiet, it is wetlands, We see plenty of deer in there and plenty of other wildlife, and that side of the property, there's nothing anybody can do with, and we won't ever do anything with it. It is true that I have an interest in buying additional property further up the hill where residents are, and I would like to purchase or build single-family homes. If that comes to fruition, or if it's even possible. But at this time, the only thing that we could really use that property for down there is maybe storage. And again, I'm hoping that the movement within that area, the minimum amount of movement within that area, will create a problem for the people that are throwing trash down there. I could welcome you here right now, we'll go down there, and there's more trash down there, and I send our employees and our staff to clean that up. In fact, they park across the street. I should be writing you a letter to clean it up. And I have not yet, because I've been cleaning it up, and it belongs to the city of Muskegon. So again, you know, my intent here is not to create a mess, and I'm not looking to put cars in there or a car lot or anything else like that. It's exactly as I say. If I do anything different, take it back away from me. Special zone or special use permits can be rescinded by the city of Muskegon or any other township or city or municipality. So again, if there is something that is not in accordance to what I say with a special use permit, it can be pulled immediately. I hope that answers your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos.
Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions
I do
for
have a
Mr.
question.
Ramos?
Yes. Thank you for speaking, Mr. Ramos. Exactly how many units are we talking about?
5.
5 units, and
5 at the most.
okay.
Yes.
So this is just basically one whole slab of units with 5 entries.
No.
Oh, okay.
It
How
would be
does that?
5 separate long buildings, just like you would see in a normal yard. And again, with the highway being on one side, it requires that I would have to landscape and beautify the highway side, as well as I would like to do a little bit better job with the lighting in that area in the street, because that's where the trash is thrown.
Yeah, and I appreciate you addressing your concerns and your love for the community, what you've done and the time that you've taken out to keep that area clean. But my biggest concerns is if we open this up, it just adds opportunity for others to come in to may do some of the things that you're not talking about doing. So,
Well, with all due respect, it's already opened up right now, except for that much property.
Yeah.
So it's already open. We're not changing virtually anything. Where you can build in that particular lot, it's the slope is so steep, it would cost you more money to build on that than it would be even worth. So the reality is, there's not much you can do. And again, if what your concern is the opening up of a can of worms, the city reserves the right to rescind a special use permit. So where's the fear?
yeah. Well, the fear is crime. Okay, and that's what our president of the Neighborhood Association addressed, and that's something that can't be controlled sometimes.
Well, I worked in law enforcement and 24 years. The better part of my career was spent in Muskegon Heights. One of the things that I preached, aside from getting out of those cruisers and walk and meet people and shake hands, which I think people should get rid of these police cars and let us meet people, develop relationships, but blight is where your crime is at. And if you get rid of blight, then you can start to alleviate the opportunities for crime. And that's what we need to do, is get rid of blight. And in that particular area, normally you can look at woods and trees as a beautiful thing. But unfortunately, because of the wetland and the problems that are in the ground there, you don't have that opportunity to get rid of that unless we come in with something along these lines. And if with the lighting that I intend to put in, and because I know about crime, I know exactly what I need to deter that crime. And I will, and that's what I've done with our other companies, our other properties, and I have a very minimum amount of problems. Not saying we're gonna get rid of everything all the way, all the time, or with all of it, but we are gonna get rid of the majority of it. And I would bet you I could get rid of a whole lot of that trash issue with a whole lot of lighting, and that would be my intent. And what better opportunities to leave the wetland alone and create the other lighting on the other side. And again, minimum traffic will create a deterrent to crime. So when I listen to the crime theory, I can understand the concern. And but we're looking at secured and closed buildings that are fenced in and that will be cameraed and alarmed.
You just answered my question. I was going to ask you about having a security system as well. So excellent, well lit.
And again, I say this with the utmost respect, and I don't mean to sound bad or arrogant, but I need this like I need another hole in the head. I just started another company in Ottawa County. I'm starting another one up north. I want to be a part of continuing the growth of here in the city of Muskegon, and if that's declined, well, that's okay. That's okay. But it's really not for me, and it's not for the money, for the people. They don't realize it, and that's okay. I can then have to prove it to them, which I'm willing to do.
Well, grateful for your contributions that you've made over the many years to our community already. And we'll see where we go with this property. But one question I do have, if this weren't rezoned, would you still proceed on the portion of the property that is zoned B4 already and ask for a special use permit?
No.
To do that? So
No.
you need the...
I would go buy elsewhere.
Okay. Just wanted to get that clarification.
Yeah.
Regardless of how this works out, you are interested in potentially pursuing new housing development
Yes,
in this
other
neighborhood?
projects, yeah.
And so...
In that same neighborhood, because I gotta tell you why. It's more, for those of you who don't realize it, it sits up on a hill and you got a lakefront view without the taxes. It's a beautiful view. And the residents that live there will know, they can look over and see the beautiful lake. And lakefront property, as you may know, it's very expensive.
Mr. Ramos, I would encourage you to attend the Jackson Hill Neighborhood Association meeting. They meet on the third Tuesday of the month, right?
This Tuesday.
So it's coming up next Tuesday. They meet at 6 p.m. at the Smith Ryerson Community Center. And so to help start building those relationships and
absolutely.
understanding and knowing that you want to be a partner with them and invest with them in their neighborhood, I think that would be welcomed by them.
Thank you.
So thank you. Commissioners, do you have any other questions or input right now? And so if this does get rezoned to B4, the remaining portion of this parcel, in order to accommodate the storage that he wants to seek there, that will ultimately have to come to the Planning Commission. And so there will be opportunity for further input. We had public comment at the beginning, but I will make one exception for you, Mr. Jones, because you are the neighbor to this property. And I know you care deeply about Jackson Hill neighborhood.
My name is Roland Jones. I live at 595 Ewer Street. That's the other side of Hall Street, a long parcel, yellow parcel. The reason I got it is because Brother Ramos spoke real eloquently, and what he said made a lot of sense. But the thing that I have is that once we start changing the zoning of that area, that means that it's going to change commercially. And I live not in a commercial area. Now, Brother Ramos said he's going to put in 5 units. How are those units going to be set in? Are they going to be long on both sides going to be units, or just one side is going to be units?
So, that's all right. Mr. Jones, that would be a great question for if this gets approved tonight and brought to the Planning Commission.
Right.
That would be a great question to bring to the Planning Commission at that time and to ask of Mr. Ramos then, because that will be determining how it's situated, how it'd be configured on that property as part of any special land use permit.
Last thing I have to say is that it has been said that that property is not buildable. I grew up here in Muskegon, and that property has always had homes in it on both sides of Hall Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. And just FYI for folks that might be looking at this map too and wondering what that blue or periwinkle or whatever color that is, shade that is, across the street along Hall. That's OSC, and that stands for Open Space Conservation. So that area is not where we build on or permit building on generally. Just open space conservation. So commissioners, any final questions or remarks before we go to vote? No? All right. Roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German,
No.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Remember, Commission, this will come back for a second reading.
Thank you. All right. Next up is a public hearing for Commercial Rehabilitation District, 130 East Apple Avenue. Is it Director Ekholm or Mr. Franzik going to be leading out on this?
It's me again. So this is the former West Michigan Therapy Building on Apple. It's been vacant for many years. We have Forest Tax Accounting Services that would like to locate there. They need to do quite a bit of work in order to do so. This abatement would freeze the taxes at the pre-rehabilitated rate for up to 10 years, I believe it is. What we're asking for tonight is to establish the district. Once that's established, we've got to give notice to the county, and they get 28 days to accept or reject it. So this abatement's a little different than the other ones that we have. We don't do a lot of these. A lot of times we do the commercial redevelopment, which is the PA 255. This is PA 210. A little different, but very similar.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Franzik. Are there any questions for, yes, Commissioner Ramsey?
Mr. Franzik, how long has this property been empty?
West Michigan Therapy was the last user in there, and that may have been 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, everybody knew that.
Come on, Muskegon! Thank you.
Any other questions for staff right now? Otherwise, we're going to open it up to public comment.
I have a question.
Yes, Vice Mayor German.
Yes. Now, is it just that building there? Are we just looking for the parcel of land also across the street, or is that already?
It's just this one parcel,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
The county owns across the street.
which only includes that one building.
Okay.
All right, we're going to open up to public comment then. I know there's some. There it goes. We have Talonda Haver. Did I pronounce that properly? Welcome, Talonda.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes to provide remarks.
Alrighty. Thank you. My name is Talonda Haver, and I am part of the Forest Group of West Michigan, and we are asking that this property, this where we're sitting, we would like it to be established as in a commercial district. The building has sat for 9 years, and with going in, we were looking forward to be in our new home at the end of tax season. And the tax season is April 18th. So by May 1st, we want it to be in the building, but going into the building, there are some very, very costly repairs. We have now broken it down 2 phases, but we want to go home, and we just need your help with that.
Thanks so much, Ms. Haver. This is a public hearing, so if there is anyone else from the audience who may not have filled this out but wish to speak at this public hearing on the establishment of this commercial rehabilitation district, you may do so. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing and approve the request to establish commercial rehabilitation district at 130 East Apple Avenue.
Motion to close the public hearing to approve the request to establish a commercial rehabilitation district at 130 East Apple Avenue.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner Hood, to approve the request to establish commercial rehabilitation district at 130 East Apple Avenue. Before we proceed to vote, is there any further questions or comments from the bench?
I just had a question. Are you guys all here together? Are you all Forest Tax? Thank you for showing up. I think that that's awesome that you guys are all here to support and to be a part of this conversation. Share that with your friends and neighbors when you get the chance. That this is a great place to come and be able to be given a chance to speak. Other than that, awesome work.
And thank you for growing with Muskegon. That's wonderful, and I think it's just kind of fitting that on International Women's Day we have a women-owned and women-powered business here before us to grow your business. So thanks so much. And commissioners, if we approve this district, they'll be coming back before us for an exemption, tax exemption certificate. So this is just creating the district right now, enabling the issuance of those certificates at a future date. So any final questions or input before we go to vote? Seeing none, roll call please.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jerman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, unfinished business, Ride Muskegon operating agreement.
Supposed to be a city manager thing?
Yeah, our city manager's not here. He's supposed to lead out on this. You were put at a disadvantage earlier when we were talking about the rehab of that home as well, because that was a city manager item as well. And so we did have considerable discussion about this last night. But which staff member would be best equipped to answer any questions if they so arise? Would you, or should we have our Development Services Director, Ms. Jake Ekholm?
Do we need a motion first before we?
Sorry?
We do.
Well, I will make a motion
I will support.
to approve the operating agreement and authorize the city manager to sign.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Commissioner Ramsey, to approve the operating agreement with Ride Muskegon LLC and authorize the city manager to sign. And so, Commissioner Ramsey.
Yeah, so I have a question, because now it's typically time for discussion. I don't recall, and please forgive me, exactly what we needed further clarification on, because last night's meeting was not, I don't want to say long, it was robust and well worth the time spent, but it was a long one. So I don't remember why we helped. I don't remember why we had them come back for this. What were the sticking points that we needed clarification on?
It was already on tonight's agenda. So last night was the work session, exploring the agreement and hashing out any questions, input, and now it's coming back for a formal vote tonight. So we didn't vote on it last night. So
we did have conversation last night, and this is a second version of this agreement. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
all that I
it's
know,
been
but
seen.
under unfinished business, I was very confused as to that we
Okay.
didn't do something we needed to do.
It was put under unfinished business because this had been before us last fall.
Yes.
And the commission tabled it last fall.
Thank
and
you.
so it's returning to us as unfinished business now.
Mr. Mayor, I have no further questions.
Right. So there might have still been items to discuss.
Commissioner Gorman.
I have a question, and I want to thank our neighbors from Lakeside Business for your comments earlier. We have received a lot of comments about just the nature of, if this moves forward, scooter control and just visually what that means. And I really do think about our business owners in Lakeside, because curbside appeal is very important for people going into those businesses. So do we have feedback on just how that's going to be managed?
I mean, we can certainly invite Mr. Puffer to come up to the podium, but as I understand it, he will have staff that's their assignment to go collect them and make sure that they're in operating order.
Okay. And I would assume, Mr. Puffer, you'd be open to communication from residents if they see scooters laying about, business owners should be encouraged to contact you if they, yeah, if you want to come up, right? Sorry, maybe that's not my.
He's welcome to the podium, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we intend on having a full-time employee to not only manage phone calls, which is on call 24 hours a day, for any issues. That person will also swap out batteries for each scooter. We have the app through Joyride that will tell us exactly the power of each battery. So as we cycle through, we'll continually change those things out before they go dead. They're not going to end up with dead scooters on the street. Also, if they're parked outside, this person will have a truck or a van, throw them in there, and then move them back to the parking spot. So they will be in those exact parking spots that Dave Alexander and I went through.
Thank you. That helps a lot.
Awesome. Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Puffer while he's up here? Commissioner St. Clair.
I had not thought about the fact that these will be available in the wee hours of the night. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so through the app, they're always available for somebody to scan and operate. They do need to have a credit card on file, so as far as 12-year-old kids jumping on them, the other gentleman said that's possible, but with a parent's permission, they have to have their credit card on file with this app. So
Do they have a light?
they have what? I'm sorry.
A light.
Yes, they have a
Oh,
headlight. Yep.
Yes.
Any follow-up, Commissioner St. Clair? All right, Vice Mayor German.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Puffer, for being here. Now, these operate 24 hours, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping they operate as much as possible. Because, I mean, we can only take advantage of, the second snow flies, they have to come off the street. So it's not, 12 months out of the year. I mean, we're taking advantage of maybe 6 months of decent weather per year. So there's a very slim chance we make our next 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for the part with the contract, those 5 years. That was one of my concerns.
The cancellation in there, just to clarify, is the end of 2020. It gives us 2 summers to where we would be basically exclusive in contract. If you don't complain and don't request a termination at the end of the 2023 year, then we would continue on. And then you still have 30 days, which is also in the contract, to essentially terminate if we're out of course or unified agreement where we would want to split.
And your competitor, with the e-bikes, you guys have a sound agreement where collectively you work together to support each other, more or less not competing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, with the termination, the term and termination of the agreement, its initial term of 5 years with 4 optional 5-year terms of renewal thereafter, potentially up to 25 years. And we have the option to terminate any time during that period except for before December 31st of 2023. And so that's what he was referring to as a kind of that exclusive period up until the end of next year. As their legal counsel shared last night, if they were in serious breach of this, we can terminate based upon breach of the agreement and a lack of curing of that breach within a reasonable time period. And I believe it's 30 days to correct the breach. Yeah. Commissioner St. Clair.
Just to clarify, you are not in concert with Lake Effect. You are just not disallowing them to continue to operate.
That is correct.
Okay, so they are not partnering. Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Puffer? Questions for staff? Or otherwise remark, Commissioner Hood, I see?
No, I'm just ready to make the motion, but go ahead.
Any other remarks? Well, the motion has been made.
Okay.
Any other remarks before we proceed? Everyone's good? All right. We're going to roll call. Oh.
All of these attachments will just say sample, 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 sample. What are you to do with that? Just samples.
Take them that way, staff will complete them later.
No, I don't like that. Okay.
Are we okay?
We are okay. I was just getting clarity as to the agreement has a number of attachments, attachments A through G, and each of them say sample on them. And so I wanted to get clarity what that means. And legal counsel is informed that they are samples, but they would be confirmed and finalized at a later date. And so that's new information to me and how I will be voting on this present agreement. So roll call.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yes.
To be clear, they'll be finalized by staff.
Yeah. Understood.
Yes. No, I know.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
Oh, sorry.
concerned-
Thank you.
I was concerned
They'll
about
be,
the other 6.
They will be confirmed and established by staff. They will not be coming back to the commission for approval. Those attachments. Thank you, legal counsel.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery?
No.
Commissioner St. Clair?
No.
Mayor Johnson?
No.
Commissioner Hood? Motion passes.
Or at least I could have.
That's it. So I bring it back to you. We'll bring it back to you.
All right. Thank you. The deputy city manager has made the offer of bringing those attachments back to the commission for adoption by us, and I would appreciate that and welcome that. So, thank you. If the commission would also welcome that.
If so, probably should have a motion to that effect.
All right. May we have a motion to the effect of returning the attachments to the commission for adoption?
I'll make that motion. A motion for the staff to return the finalized documents to the city commission for adoption.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Emery, for the attachments to the agreement with Ride Muskegon LLC to return to the commission for adoption. Any discussion, Commissioner Ramsey?
Yeah, didn't we just approve the operating agreement to be authorized by the city manager to sign?
Yeah, we're asking for all the attachments that delineate how it's going to operate, which have not been finalized, for them to be finalized and brought back to us for adoption. So we know what you all just approved.
Gotcha.
In there currently, so a lot of samples.
Okay.
Vice Mayor German.
Yeah, could the clerk display those options because I can't find them.
They're not on there.
Oh, they're not on there. Okay.
They're in there, they're just samples.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But they have not been finalized. There are
Where are they?
attachments A through G. Notice to proceed with e-scooters and e-bikes, key performance indicator, city of Muskegon specific area conditions, user fees, certificate of insurance, approved locations for shared mobility devices and shared mobility services, and a map of furnished facilities and scope of facility use. So all the nitty gritty.
This is
It's just samples?
real.
It's all samples. None of those are finalized. Those are all samples. That's why I voted no.
I believe attachment.
Oh, I was wondering why you voted no, so at least I know that now.
Yeah.
I believe attachment F is not a sample. It's the final version.
Okay.
That one is final. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Did you cover that last night? Because I missed that part.
I was going to, as the conversation was so long, it slipped my mind.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for catching that.
You need to vote on it, right?
So, unless there's any more conversation, we're going to proceed with the vote on that motion.
Yeah, I'm looking for what samples we're looking at. You have that? I want to take a look at that.
That's the first one.
And that's the only one?
Nope.
No.
Going.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I did see this. Okay. Okay. Fees and hours. Okay. Yeah, I'm okay now.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next up, we have the second quarter budget reforecast. We have our finance director, Mr. Kenneth Grant here.
Good evening. Once again, I just wanted to give you some of the highlights of what's going on in the budget, and if you have any questions, hopefully I can answer some of them. Some of the things that, especially I'm going to address general fund primarily. Traffic and fines have gone up last year. That's due to police enforcement at the beach, and another thing that we've been seeing an increase in revenue from beach parking. That's a good thing. 700,000, and hopefully we'll do that this year. We've been getting some contributions in. We got several contributions from the MMRMA for police grants, so they got some bulletproof. Exactly, but the police department worked on several grants. They got over $75,000 from our risk authority to buy some equipment and things like that. So we got some information for that. I mean, we got some money for that. We have got some marijuana street light contributions, thanks to Mike. He's been pounding the concrete for that, and we hopefully get the lighting in those areas better. And I think we're expected to get some marijuana revenue. We got it last year. We got it around this time. Last year we got 112,000. I'm expecting that number to be about 150. I don't know because I haven't received it, but we got it on the 8th of March last year, so it should be coming any day.
We're rooting for north of 200.
Yeah, hopefully it's 200. I mean, all these businesses are open and throughout the state. It should be over 200,000, but I just don't know for sure. So our income tax number right now through the end of December was down 140,000. We might have to make a third quarter reforecast after the end of the month to see where we're at. Last year was the best year ever for income tax. It was weird. I don't know why, but we had more money in income tax revenue last year than any other year. So it wouldn't be surprise me if it goes down a little bit. Some of our notable expenses. I thank Leo for this. Our park budget is kind of out of whack. The labor costs and things like that to attract people to work at our parks is more expensive. It's just we have more events going on, so that's one of the things. One of the things that I just found out today, our constitutional money, they're going to claw back some of our money back because our the state had our census number slightly off, so our next constitutional disbursement is going to be down by $100,000. So they overpaid us, so they're taking the money back. So hopefully, I was talking to Pete earlier. They may pass something and say they might not take that money back because it negatively impact us. But right now, as of the day, they're going to take $100,000 off of our constitutional. So, I found that out Friday, then I got confirmation today that because our population went down from like 38,000 to 36. So, yeah.
That's not what the census said.
I know they made some adjustments
State
today.
needs to get updated census numbers.
Yeah, that's yeah. So,
Fight them in the street.
right now, as of December, our general fund deficit is 1.8, just with the revenue over expenditures over revenues. So we still have time. That didn't include all our property taxes that we're collecting. So I have to run numbers at the end of the month to see how far we're off. But right now, as of December 31st, we do have a deficit expenditures over revenues. And I probably will be coming back to you about some ARPA things, about the $10 million and how we need to spend that money, and I'll talk to you guys about that because we did take the election to take the $10 million as revenue replacement. So we have to figure out how we're going to replace that revenue. And it's not just revenues, it could be expenditures in that general fund. So I want to talk to you about that probably next month, so we can get that money into our general fund and we could do things like that. One of the things I did, I talked to MERS. We do still have some pension funds, and our DB cost is going to go up $600,000 next year. And it's going to peak out around $6 million for the next couple of years, and then it's going to drop off because most of our DBs are closed. So it's going to be a tough couple years. We're going to have to fight, figure out ways to pay that. So that's one of the things we got to consider. Like I know last night we had some information about adding departments, and you might have to make some tough decisions of what you want to do to replace. If you want something, you may have to give up something. So I'll leave that up to you. I'll present what I have, and you guys have to make decisions where you want to spend the rest.
Okay.
Okay. One bit of good news in the water fund, no, it's actually the sewer fund. The treatment costs are still going down because last couple of years we had the infiltration for the high water source. So I lowered that number from originally it was at 6 million. I lowered that number to 5.4. I think you asked about that the last quarter, so I'm adjusting. It might go down lower than that, but right now I just have it conservatively at 5.4. So that's a good thing for our water fund. Other than that, if you had any questions about the budget or anything in the budget, if you have any questions, I'll take any.
So with that continuously improving situation with the sewer fund expenditures, we might be on target to roll back some of that considerable increase with this next fiscal year.
Well,
looking at end of calendar year.
It'll be at the end of the fiscal year.
Rolling that back. That was a big jump.
I don't know if we could roll back, but we definitely won't increase. Well, like I said, we can see where we're at the end of this fiscal year and see, and I'll present it to you guys and let you guys make the decision, because we still have replaced sewer lines and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly want to keep the fund solvent and supporting our capital expenditures.
So we're on the right path of getting that deficit eliminated. So once we get there, we still have to build up some funds for repairs and things.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's what we have to do. Yes.
So to speak. But I know I'm keenly, and I suspect some of my fellow commissioners, and I know staff too, are keenly interested in providing financial relief to our residents and property owners. So if we can roll that back somewhat, that'd be helpful, because that 28% increase last year was a bit painful for some of our residents.
And then I think I talked to Julie Balgoin about our health care, and I think that's going to go up by 6% next year, which is not that bad for healthcare. So, but that's another thing that
less
we
than
have.
Inflation.
Yeah, so it's going up 6%. So we have a lot of things that we have to juggle. Hopefully, we're getting more revenue from the beach parking and things like that. So hopefully, continue to keep going on that. That is a good thing. So I like that.
All right. Thank you, Director Grant. Commissioners, do you have any questions or remarks with regard to our budget reforecast? Vice Mayor German.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a comment from Director Grant. Great job. Everything sounds good. We're headed in the right direction, and just continue the good work. Thank you. Really appreciate you.
Like, and my door is open. If you ever have any questions or any concerns about anything, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. I'll get back to you guys.
Okay. And so you anticipate, you said potentially next month, revisiting some of the financials with regard to ARPA.
Yes.
Potentially how we're going to use the money.
Yeah, because we elected the $10 million revenue replacement, and that's the easiest way to get the money. It's the easiest way and less
latitude.
Yeah, and we don't have to do as much reporting. Mm-hmm. So I would probably bring something to the commission. I would talk to deal with Director Maxwell, and we'll come to you with something about how we want to use that $10 million.
Okay. Yeah, you have some challenging financial magic to do in terms of all of the priorities and all of the additional asks that we have for building out City Hall with regard to our parks and recreation, with regard to communications, with community engagement,
like I said, I told Leanne is that that I am not opposed to expansion. I just want to have the revenue and to pay for it. That's
Absolutely.
all. That's all.
And I would just reiterate, because I've said it many times over a number of years, I would like to hire more firefighters as well.
Yes.
So that will be a conversation that we need to be having also amongst the commission and our staffing of our fire department. So thank you, Director Grant.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Did we get a motion on this?
No.
All right, commissioners, may we have a motion?
I would like to motion to approve the second quarter fiscal year 2021-22 budget reforecast as presented.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner Emery, to approve the second quarter fiscal year 2021 to 2022 budget reforecast as presented. Are there any final questions or remarks before we go to vote? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, we have an amendment to the Marijuana Facilities Overlay District for temporary marijuana events. So that we may proceed, may we have a motion?
I motion to approve the request to amend section 2331 of the zoning ordinance to allow temporary marijuana events at 470 West Western Avenue and 1800 Peck Street.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner St. Clair to approve the request to amend section 2331 of the zoning ordinance to allow temporary marijuana events at 470 West Western Avenue and 1800 Peck Street. Mr. Franzik,
Good
would
evening,
like to
Jim.
lead us out on this.
Yeah, so we took this to the Planning Commission last month. They made two separate motions. The first one was for the arena at 470 West Western. That was recommended for approval by a 6-1 vote, and the Marshfield was recommended for approval by a 4-3 vote. Now, what this would allow is a group to apply for a temporary marijuana event, and basically they just follow our standard special event program guidelines. Just has to be in an area designated for that through the marijuana ordinance. And currently they're only really allowed in the initial overlay district, the first one we did off of Laketon, and they're also by our ordinance allowed at any other retailer. So we have the one on 420 South Harvey, which is approved, it's not built yet. The two on Apple, actually three on Apple and one on Getty, and the one at the Watermark. So technically those are allowed to.
Thank you, Mr. Franzik. So if we were to proceed with this and make this amendment, we would allow temporary events that were had permitted by the city and the state to operate at our arena or Marshfield, but that would not allow the routine consumption of cannabis at either of those facilities for a hockey game or a baseball game or anything like that. It would not happen on the daily, but only a special event as permitted by the city and the state.
Yeah, it would be up to the city to allow that or not, regardless of if we're establishing this district.
Okay. Commissioner Hood?
Yes. At the planning commission, I like the way it was separated, because at the arena, I don't have a problem with the arena, but I do have a problem at Marshfield, because that's, to me, it's a sporting. Their baseball. You got a lot of kids there. You got a kid park. It's going to be right across the street from the middle school. I mean, I know that the overlay area is across from the middle school, but I mean that's inside, and this is outside events at the park. So I still feel the same way. I voted no in the planning commission for Marshfield, but yes at the arena. So, and it's back at us, but it's both together. Why does it have to be both together? I'm just asking.
If you'd like to vote on this separately, well, Commissioner Ramsey, I know you had a remark as well, but to answer Commissioner Hood's question, if you'd like it to be separated, the motion can be amended to do so, whether by another commissioner to amend it or by the initial commissioner who made the amendment may amend their own amendment. If that makes any sense, it's probably clear as mud.
That's me.
So, Commissioner Ramsey can modify his amendment to our overlay district to break it apart. Or you, Commissioner Hood, may... I prefer... Legal counsel, you want to weigh in on this? How would you prefer this be handled? Would you prefer Commissioner Ramsey? I think it'd be cleaner if Commissioner Ramsey, if we did it one at a time and you just amended your initial motion, and then we can make a subsequent motion for the other parcel, if that's how the commission would like to proceed. But I would like to be respectful of Commissioner Hood in that regard.
I have a question before we even get to any of
All
that.
right, then. Your question, Commissioner
Yeah.
Ramsey.
So, just for further clarification for everybody in the room, Michael, and our neighbors watching at home, when we talk about these events at both the arena and/or Marshfield, we can think about them the same way that we think about a beer tent, right? That there are processes and procedures and things in place that keep stuff confined that really make it as like a special event. It's not just people are walking around Marshfield in the arena smoking a doobie. That there really are requirements and laws that need to be upheld so that as we think about a consumption event, we can think about it or liken it to a beer tent, a special beer tent permit. Am I correct in understanding that?
Yes, and the good thing about us owning the properties is we set the regulations. So at a temporary marijuana event at the arena now, we don't allow smoking there. So there may have vendors selling products. Essentially, people could maybe eat an edible there, but there would be no smoking allowed. Smoking allowed in the arena. So. And the same thing for Marshfield. If we wanted to keep people off of certain parts of the parcel, keep them farther away from the middle school, or keep them off the infield, we can certainly designate that.
Yeah.
Or like say that we had to have walls on a tent. Or,
It's required, actually.
Yeah.
The law requires it to be fenced, secured, and shielded.
I just wanted people to hear that so that we don't make the worst out of a situation in our head because we don't understand, right? Or because we don't know all the ins and outs. So thank you for answering that. And then to get back to the other thing, I am 100% okay with amending my motion to just approving the zoning for the temporary marijuana events at 470 Western Avenue.
All right, Commissioner St. Clair, you support that? Okay. So this motion here, and we'll take the next motion subsequently. But this motion is to amend section 2331 of the zoning ordinance to allow temporary marijuana events at 470 West Western Avenue, otherwise commonly known as Mercy Health Arena. So, Commissioners, are there any other questions or input on this amendment to our zoning with regard to our arena? Nope. All right. Let's proceed to roll call.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yes.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And would you also like to present the...
I would like to make a motion to approve the request to amend section 2331 of the zoning ordinance to allow temporary marijuana events at 1800 Peck Street.
Or
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner St. Clair, to approve the request to amend section 2331 of the zoning ordinance to allow temporary marijuana events at 1800 Peck Street, commonly known as Marshfield. As Commissioner Ramsey made the motion, I will acknowledge him for discussion first.
Great. So, Mike, this is in my ward. And so I just want to know what preempted this expansion here, specifically at Marshfield?
Well, I mean, it personally wasn't my idea. I was just asked to add it. So I.
Okay. So then
Not
my
sure
follow-up
exactly where it
question
came
to that
from.
is, when do we get to expand this amendment to the rest of our fair city so that we can, like we have with alcohol consumption establishments?
That is a great question, and I'm sure it's going to come up to the Planning Commission this week. And so, Director Franzik, you previously had mentioned as part of being a redevelopment-ready community in the state of Michigan, we need to have a joint Planning Commission and City Commission meeting, preferably once a year, is it?
Yes,
Or at
once
least-
a year. Yep.
At least once a year. So I think this would be a excellent topic for both bodies to explore and discuss together and hammer it out. And so, do you have given any thought to when we might be able to do that? Is April or May, or what fixed? I guess you contemplate when that works for staff and the Planning Commission, and then let's get something on the calendar for that.
I'd like to have it in April or May.
April or May? Okay. So let's proceed with that. In terms of Marshfield, I'm supportive of Marshfield being added. It's right next to our existing district. I see it as potentially an opportunity for our surrounding cannabis operators to utilize this field, collaborate, and make it more of a destination. Bring people into, and hopefully not only support the cannabis businesses there, but helping to support non-cannabis businesses in that area. I don't think we want to see that entirely cannabis. We'd like to see a variety of businesses there. And so if we can bring more folks into that area and support small businesses, I'm all keen on entrepreneurship. But I am sorry, Commissioner Hood. I spoke, and I should have acknowledged you after Commissioner Ramsey.
That's true. So going on, there is a kiddie park at kids park in Marshfield, right? So what time are these events going to take place, and what are they going to do with the kids that playing in the park?
That would have to be figured out. I think we would set that as our own policy. Guess is that we would probably put the fencing around the park and make the playground inaccessible to the festival goers and keep it open to the children.
So we got the kids playing over here with a fence and everybody getting high over here. But it's in the same park. That don't sound very responsible to me. I don't know, but I guess I'm old. So that's just I just wanted to put that out there.
And when the event permits come to us, we'll be able to determine the location of it as well as the timing of it, so we can work with any of the event applicants. And I really don't expect there's going to be a whole lot of events, but it'd be nice to create that possibility of our cannabis operators to hold these events together rather than trying to do it on their own property. They don't necessarily have the room, but I really like to cultivate collaboration amongst our cannabis cultivators and retailers. Commissioner Ramsey.
I can dig that, but that's why we approved the Walk Arena. I mean, you have a kiddie party. You gonna tell the kids you can't play over here because we're having a weed party or weed consumption event? That's just, I don't know. I'll leave it alone because I'm not gonna beat a dead horse.
Oh,
But,
I don't think we would necessarily shut down the playground.
That's just my concern.
That would remain open. We would shield it from the playground because that's actually required, being shielded. But Commissioner Ramsey, I see you, but Commissioner St. Clair hasn't spoken yet and would like to. So Commissioner St. Clair, get it.
I have a question and a thought. My question is, do we currently sell alcohol at Marshfield for basketball? Or I'm sorry, I don't do sports ball, so whatever games happen there, do we sell alcohol?
Yes, you can drink at Marshfield.
Okay, so then I don't see much difference in between drinking a beer or eating an edible so far as risk to the children. It's already happening. My wonderment is at Heritage Landing, which I know we don't operate. When festivals come in, it becomes inaccessible to the public, including the children's park. And that's part of the way it operates. You can't use the kayak launch there. You just can't go in when there's something happening. Is there a possibility of, if we are concerned about kids being exposed, which is legit, can we for that day close the park like they do with Heritage Landing?
That's optional.
I believe so, yeah.
That's at the city's discretion when they approve the permit.
We could potentially even make it a policy to only approve them for nighttime use.
Okay.
Park would be closed anyways to come up with
Okay.
a number
So
of
we have quite a
different
bit of
regulations.
flexibility. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I see this is kind of tiptoeing into bigger events across our city, and because I'm sure there are people who would like to do bigger events elsewhere. But let's get our feet wet first at the arena in Marshfield before we necessarily allow major cannabis operations elsewhere, or cannabis events elsewhere in our city. But Commissioner Ramsey, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I don't mind waiting. I want to shine a light on what Commissioner Hood said. I think that there are valid concerns and questions there, but I think that as we look at mitigating them moving forward, we have to move forward with the opportunity to mitigate. I hope that Commissioner Gorman doesn't mind this, but Commissioner Gorman and I had a very real conversation just over the last week about neither of us having children. And so this is not a concern that I think about every day, right? I don't think about the mitigation of my kids at the park that I can literally see from my house and the use of marijuana next door. But I've also been to many birthday parties where I've had a cocktail and there's been children within 5 feet of me, unfortunately. And so I think that while there is opportunities for this to happen, that we need to hear from the neighbors in that neighborhood, Michael, dear, about what this looks like for you and how your kids and when your kids and how that park is utilized as far as the kids park of it goes. Because there's, just like Commissioner Sinclair said, which was very astute, thank you, we do close down bigger parks, right? That's the gig. Now this is a smaller neighborhood park, but it does have a huge attraction with Marshfield football, baseball there. So it is still a thing. So I'm going to support this wholeheartedly because I do. But I think that as we move forward, I would invite anyone, especially from my ward, who lives around the park itself, to reach out to me and just have a conversation about this. I don't have kids. This isn't something I think about, so I'd love to hear and learn from all of you. I know that both Commissioner Gorman and Commissioner Sinclair would also be very interested in hearing your thoughts. So please don't be afraid to reach out to us and have productive conversations about this kind of stuff moving forward.
Excellently framed and stated. We definitely welcome that input as we move forward with the permitting process for those events. And our city manager did share at the Planning Commission that this is another opportunity to raise revenue for both facilities and maintenance thereof, which is always a benefit. Also, so any final questions or remarks, Vice Mayor German?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just listening to everything, and I share the sentiments of Commissioner Hood. Also, with children playing in the parks, and I think if it's carefully planned and with restrictions, to actually close out that area. And Commissioner St. Clair brought up a valid point. They're selling alcohol at these parks, so and you have these marijuana dispensaries right across the street. I just kind of look at it, you're kind of splitting hairs, Both of them are legal. And so if it's done in proper manner, I think that it shouldn't be any problems. And with the guidelines, as Mr. Francis stated, using some type of partition or tent or fence, closing that area off from kids, or even if we closed it down or had it at a later time, I think would be good as well. So, it's approved. It's, state approved it, and you're right there in that corridor right there. It's just obvious, it's going to happen, and everybody up here that voted in favor of it, had the responsibility and accountability when you did that. So these are things that you should have taken into account for when you did this. So.
Thank you, Vice Mayor German. Any other comments or questions before we go to vote? All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
No.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yes.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
No.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, now we have any other business before we go to public comment? And we just got a little bit of housekeeping to do. When we appointed Leanne Mikesell as our interim city manager, effective April 2nd, we probably should have formally accepted the resignation of our current city manager, Franklin J. Peterson, effective April 1st. Oh. And so I would entertain a motion to that effect.
Make that motion. I move that we officially accept the resignation of Franklin J. Peterson, I missed the date. Effective April 1st.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Emery. Motion made by Commissioner St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Emery, to accept the resignation of Franklin J. Peterson as city manager effective April 1st. Any discussion? We can go straight to roll call. All right, straight to roll call.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
If I vote no, does he have to stay? Yes.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Do we have to accept resignation of the police chief as well? You don't know plan. Commissioner Ramsey.
Yeah, I have a question for something under any other business.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Last night we talked a little bit about the social district and the cups, and I heard someone say, and I'm not sure who it was, that we're not really tracking. It sounded like we weren't really tracking the sale of cups.
Oh, no, that's not true.
I'm sure we are.
No, I don't have the figures with me, but we
Okay.
have them.
So this is, I have misheard something at some point when someone said, well, we really don't know that, because it shook me.
No, the
Well, because the purchases that come through us.
Yes.
So
yes.
we have to know.
And on the
Yeah.
receipt, all of them by who bought them. Yes.
Yeah.
We have those.
Okay.
I don't have them like in a spreadsheet to hand to you right now, but I think we even have that too. Yes.
So we are,
They're in a spreadsheet.
Yes.
so we are tracking how many cups we are selling
Yes.
to each and every bar.
Absolutely.
Now, how the bar doesn't track that necessarily, and we don't get those numbers from the bar.
Correct.
Correct. No. They have to buy them from our office.
Yeah.
But we don't track how many
They sold.
per
No.
day or anything.
They could be sitting on a ton of stickers or cups or whatever. Yes.
Okay.
We have some sense though when they have to re-up.
Yeah,
and buy
yeah,
more.
yeah.
How quickly they're moving.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. But on that point of social district, tangential, or piggybacking. I don't know which one, Mr. Alexander or Mr. Ekholm, which one of you might be able to speak on to the state law making its way. I hear it's been approved by the House and the Senate. It's supposed to be going before a governor. Has the governor signed the law amending that social district enabling act?
I did not check today, but it is on her desk.
It's on her desk.
Yeah, it was approved House Bill HB 5090, the one that we wanted for Sunset and for allowing the social district to have a special event, beer tent as we know it around here, license within it and not having to shut it down, is before her. It had one vote against it in the Senate, one vote against it in the House, and it was for immediate effect.
Excellent. So,
and
Sunset
I
will be
believe
gone.
it brings
We'll be able to have
brings up
special
some
event
other
liquor
conversations that we need to have for staff to present to you maybe in April as it relates to what we may want to do with the boundaries and if that changes that at all.
And that was going to be my next point. If we have this law that now the special events can play nicely within our social district, that opens up opportunities to extend our social district to encompass Hackney Park.
You need to have that policy conversation. I think you need to decide that. And you also get, I will tell you, I know Commissioner Hood was very instrumental in not wanting us to, and everyone bought into your rationale of not wanting to cross Shoreline Drive, but there are three licenses cross there that we'll probably be asking to be included as we have that conversation.
All right. And
That's another policy decision that you need to make.
All right. So a couple policy decisions to mull over. In the meantime, ask maybe some questions in advance, but this will be forthcoming or coming back to the commission at some point, probably at a work session.
I would like to bring it to work session on April so that we can have there's clarity for, especially the one the one that really affected it was Rebel Road. And that conversation is already beginning with staff, and we'll be having a meeting with them here in the next week or so.
All right, so that's moving along with Rebel Road. We're going to be able to welcome them back to Western Avenue. and they'll be able to operate as
There'll
they
be
have
more
done
of a
in
traditional
years
look for
past.
Rebel Road as we've had in the past.
All right, exciting. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. So, Commissioners, is there any other business that you would like to address before we move on to public comment? Seeing none? Oh, Commissioner St. Clair?
Some clarification. I understand that we do not have to officially accept the resignation of the public safety director. Is that correct?
That's correct. He serves at the pleasure of the city manager.
Okay. So then the city manager will be conducting the search for replacement?
That is correct. I
Can
presume.
you speak to that?
It's already underway.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about timeline and what that's going to look like? I've had some inquiries.
Sure. It's already been posted. I believe we have received 10 applicants, and we are just talking today about putting together the team that will be reviewing those applicants. I know the city manager is waiting for you to respond to him on one of those items. So it's underway. I believe the posting was closing March 11th.
Okay. Do you know what that team is going to look like?
Yes. So far, we talked about the current city manager, the current public safety director, the current deputy chief of fire, me. I feel like there's another staff member. Kim Spittler, our current building official, and then at least one commissioner.
Was there a determination on Director Grant joining that?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, he's part of it too.
Maybe he just learned. You are on
Sorry.
that committee.
Seriously, we just started having the conversation today, so.
And when does that posting close?
I believe March 11th.
So
Soon.
if the current city manager is on that, then you are looking at a very tight timeline for him to be part of the process before he is no longer city manager?
Correct. You know, I mean, this is how we're proceeding. If, nobody knows exactly how this is going to go. So we don't really want to drag the process out. But if we can't complete it while he's here, that's okay. We still have a way forward.
Thank you.
Then it would, okay, Commissioner or Vice Mayor German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. To Deputy Manager Mike Sell, is it possible someone from the community could be involved also in this interviewing process or decision-making process?
I don't know that I would recommend that. We have talked about doing some meet and greets with each of the applicants, and then we would want to include some citizens. We talked about the Citizens Police Review Board, a member from there, the social equity group that the current public safety director works with, a representative from there. So we talked about a number of different representatives from outside of city staff.
Okay. And I guess the next question would be, once a decision has been made and out of that pool of candidates, what's the next process? Does that come in front of the commission for interview? They sit down, meet and greet, or how does that work?
We would certainly do a meet and greet, but that's not a position, as far as I understand, that gets approved by the commission.
Yeah.
As the attorney just said it, at the pleasure of the city manager.
Exactly.
Yeah, the commission does not have the power to hire or fire our, police chief or fire chief, but in this case we have the public safety director. That position, however, is my understanding from the city manager, they anticipate having those open houses with the public as well as the commission, so we have an opportunity to, I don't want to say interview, but question. We have an opportunity to ask questions and get a sense of the candidates, the ones that are narrowed down, probably to like the final 3 or 3 to 5, I would imagine. And then we can always give our feedback. We can always give our input to the committee that's overseeing that. I would be wondering if we should perhaps extend that timeline a little bit to welcome more candidates. But that's something that could be determined when we get to March 11th, I suppose.
Right, yeah.
As to whether we want to extend that to try to get some more candidates.
Can I speak to that just a second?
Yes.
So we did talk about, once that posting closes, that the team would get together and review the applications. And at that point, we could make a decision on, does the pool need to be wider?
Okay. Excellent. Any other questions on this subject? Or input on this subject? All right. Thank you, Deputy City Manager.
You're welcome.
Soon to be interim City Manager. Any other business before we go to public comment? Nope. All right. Great question, Commissioner St. Clair. And it's something that I'm sure there's folks in our community interested in how that process plays out and how we're going to proceed, but that there will be public elements to the process. And so, Commissioner St. Clair, would you serve on that committee?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Now we go to public comment. So we have one person who has submitted a public comment form, and there's still time. So if you want to submit a form to the clerk, you may do so now to speak on any topic. But first up, we have a gentleman, Blue Bogiano from Holland, Michigan. Oh, I'm sorry. Blue, welcome.
All right. To start out, I want to make it very clear that I and any sane person here recognizes that animal testing is extremely evil and morally reprehensible. But, seeing as nobody on the commission seems to be sane, I'll try to make some points that don't necessarily involve having morals. Northern biomedical research euthanizes all testing subjects. First of all, a large portion of animal testing subjects are fully capable of living as pets after going through testing, assuming they're not too traumatized from the experience. Thousands of animals who could have full lives are being put to death unnecessarily. There's also the issue of disposal of the corpses. The way they dispose corpses is on-site incineration, which, aside from all of the air pollution that comes with that, it also makes the surrounding area very stinky. A common argument in favor of animal testing facility is that it creates local jobs. However, the jobs that an animal testing facility creates are jobs that workers would be better off without. 11 to 44% of animal testing lab workers experience allergic reactions to contact with the testing animals, and 4 to 22% experience occupational asthma. These issues are generally resolved after a person stops working there. However, there are more permanent risks. For example, inhalation of waste anesthetic gases, that's gases that leak out during euthanasia, have been shown to cause long-term effects, both physical and mental. These include headaches, depression, cancer, liver and kidney disease, birth defects, and fertility issues. Not that I'd necessarily want people who test on animals to reproduce, but on a human level, it's still bad that it happens. Most damningly, of course, the average salary for an animal testing worker in Michigan is $13 an hour. I don't think the average worker would be comfortable selling their soul for $13 an hour. Mayor Ken has previously stated that he would be proud if Muskegon was home to a company that contributed to cures for very debilitating diseases. As it turns out, animal testing has a 96% failure rate. Are all the apparent consequences really worth are all the potential consequences really worth a potential 4% success rate? I think embarrassment is more appropriate than pride in this situation. Sure, the animal testing facility would bring in tax dollars, but so would just about any other business. Money doesn't have to and shouldn't be the most important factor when it comes to decision making. It's very clear from this whole situation that what's theoretically best for the wallet isn't what's necessarily best for the community. From attending these meetings and various protests, it's very obvious that the people of Muskegon do not want this animal testing facility. You all are elected officials who are supposed to represent the best interests of your constituents. On that most basic level, you are failing. Thank you.
Thank you, Blue, for joining us today and sharing your remarks. Safe travels. We also have a Corrine Calkins, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that properly, who's joining us from downtown Muskegon.
Mr. Mayor.
To speak.
quickly, and I'm so sorry, I have to step out. I have a meeting at 8 o'clock at Alcoholics Anonymous that I want to attend, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm stepping out on public comment. I just want you all to know why.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey. Godspeed.
Thank you for letting me get my phone back open too.
Yes,
Yes, you did. Hi, thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm Karam Calkins. It should be Kareem, but my mom pronounced it differently. At any rate, I came down because I'm part of the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition, and I don't need to add anything to what Ray said. I bike all the time for a lot of rehab and other things for some physical ailments that I have. And I'm encouraged by what's going on here in town, especially because I live right here. I walked here tonight. And I'd like to encourage you also to make sure that as the new park, the new county park at the sand mine develops, that we've got some signage that'll lead you up off the Lakeshore Trail into that area, up Lincoln perhaps. And the comment that was made earlier, there's several unrelated things here, but I was on city council in Roosevelt Park until not too long ago. He's right next to John. And when I heard about the financial impact of what it sounded like the retirement for city employees going up, that's what we noted in Roosevelt Park. And I really dug my heels in, and we bonded a big chunk of that out, and it made a huge difference to our ultimate costs. And if that's not been looked into, I would hope that you would. That MERS expense can be taken care of in a different way than having this giant bubble of misery come through the budget. The next one is we walk our dog downtown all the time, and I pick up trash all the time. And the trash cans were removed for the wintertime, especially in Hackley Park. And then we had events in Hackley Park, and we had places to go for kids and everything else. And there wasn't any place to throw out trash. So I would hope that perhaps some positioning of trash, the remaining trash cans, could be done that was a little bit easier to find, and in the area by the water fountain for the kids to play in. It's just a feces minefield. I could say some other things, but it's horrific. And perhaps we, on those trash cans, could attach bags.
Good idea.
As a city. I don't think the expense would be great, and the result might be wonderful. And last but not least, I do want to be here in town, and I did volunteer to be this past week through your online thing on the planning commission and some of the other things here in town. So I hope to get to see more of you more often. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Karam.
Yes.
Appreciate you being here with us and moving into our wonderful city. Thank you. And excellent ideas. And did you take notes?
I did.
All right. Wonderful. And then we also have one more. Mr. Jack Page is returning to speak. That's the last one, folks. So if anyone wants to speak, there's still time to fill out that form and get it to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the Commissioners again. Jack Page, 1853 Cherry Street. This is not as pleasant as the one before. I'm here tonight to speak about the recent report that the city received from Engel regarding the 20-plus critical dune violations. When this was being debated with the commission 3 or 4 years ago, I rose in opposition to the city taking over critical dunes oversight from the state, as I felt the city staff lacked proper expertise to properly administer the program. We were told that the city would hire a consultant, Prism, to assure compliance. Now, multiple violations of the CDA have been discovered by the state. The city was asked to respond to the violations. What was the result? Well, at least one of the violations' locations was wrong. The city sent back the wrong file. This is much bigger now than just a restaurant. A lot bigger than it. Now we have improper permits for traffic circles, Homeowners are ensnared in it, and yes, the deck restaurant is ensnared up in this too. I would ask that this commission do two things. One, return critical dunes oversight to the state before any more violations continue, and before the state demands it happens. And two, I have a question regarding the swings, benches, bicycles, racks, and other implements that have been, other great amenities that have been added to Pure Marquette Park, recently installed. A lot of these were purchased and paid for by private residents and neighborhood associations. Were these new swings, benches, bike racks properly permitted by the state? Or were there permits pulled at all on any of these installations? These are questions that haven't been addressed yet. And I thank you for your concern on these matters. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your remarks, Mr. Page. And the state's audit of the permitting process is ongoing. The city will be following up with the additional information and requests that the state has found as part of its auditing process with any deficiencies with the permitting process. So that will be forthcoming from the city by the end of this month, I believe. And then we'll hear from the state as to whether they're satisfied with that and any follow-up action that may need to be taken to cure any further deficiencies. Otherwise, I do also anticipate city and staff having a conversation about our continuance of maintaining our authority to enforce and to permit or to return that to the state. I had a conversation with some staff internally at the beginning of this year about us not permitting on our own property, public property, because I thought that that was a potential for conflict of interest and having that only go through the state, whereas we would retain the permitting powers for private property. However, I was told that the state does not allow us to pick and choose. It's all or none. With the exception if it's a special use permit, that does require going to the state for permitting, which I had broached last year on a couple aspects or a couple projects. Now, so that will be forthcoming, that conversation amongst staff and commissioners, and we will also be awaiting any further determinations or responses from the state on this matter. So unless staff wants to speak on this further, no. All right, any takers? Would you like to speak on this, Mr. Franzik, since you are our zoning administrator and oversees this?
Yeah, so we do hire a consultant, and we trust what they've been saying. They've been doing this for a couple of decades now. It appears the state's being a little ticky-tacky with some of the interpretations. They've asked us for cross-sections on flat land, which does not make any sense. State waives those requirements all the time. They don't appear to like it when we do it, so we've had to make statements that we're going to approve those. The vegetative assurance was being provided by the company that we hired. They don't like that, so we found a way around that so we can get the vegetative assurances without that. All of the items have been addressed except for the deck, so that's the only outstanding violation with the critical dunes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Franzik. Madam Clerk, any more public comment forms?
No, we do not.
All right. Well, we are done then. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Like, you want to talk some more? All right, we got a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Gorman. That was supported by Vice Mayor German, I believe.
Yeah.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Adjourn. Take care and be well, all.